Welcome to part 2 of Let's Talk About Backups. If you haven't seen part 1, be sure to look in our playlist section, check out part 1, and then hop into part 2. We hope you enjoy it. So, Travis, another term that we hear often associated with backups is a type of backup. Incremental backups. Can you define or help us to understand what that term means?
Sure. Incremental backups means that you're taking different backups at different times so that you can actually look back and say, I want to restore a file from yesterday, at 2 p.m. Maybe you're doing them by the hour. So you can incrementally go back in time to each hour and get a version of the file from that. But in addition to that, there's also differential backups. And differential backups mean that if the file has had something change on it, it takes a backup. But if the file hasn't changed at all, then it doesn't waste the space on your backup service or device by making another copy. There's no need because nothing's changed. So what's cool is there are services and appliances that let you do both incremental and differential backups. So it saves you space, but also gives you granularity so that you can actually get, different copies of the file from different points in time. A good example of this is if you had like a Word document that had 100 words on it, and then somebody came in and added another 50 words, and then maybe an hour later, somebody came in and added another 100 words, you would get a backup each hour. You'd be able to go back and look at that document and say, I want the version of it that had the original 100 words or the second added paragraph or the third added paragraph. And you have those choices. So it's a feature of modern backups to have both incremental and differential.
Okay. So there's those two terms there. Incremental basically is time based, and then differential is if something changes, if it's different,
right?
Then it takes the backup. So another term that most of us hear all the time, and there's some funny memes and whatnot about this as well. But cloud-based backups, you've mentioned that, but what are cloud-based backups?
I think there's a bumper sticker out there that says the cloud is just somebody else's computer. That's essentially what it is. It's computers that aren't yours that are hosted in a facility that's not yours, probably in a data center, hopefully in a data center, which is a building dedicated to keeping equipment like that powered up online and cooled and secure. So it's making sure that there's a copy of the data in their private on their private equipment at their data center that's called the cloud, and it's transparent to you. And why that's the upside of that is because it's on their hardware in their facility that they're maintaining. You don't have to worry about, the hardware aspect of it. What is the server? How's it spec'd out? What's the warranty on it? What happens if the physical components break? That's why the cloud is beneficial, because they're handling that. And in a lot of cases, the cloud is multiple computers that are sharing resources across themselves that allow for more diversity, right? So the data isn't just dedicated to one individual machine. It's kind of spread out across multiple machines and in such a way that it's redundant, so that if one machine dies, it's okay. Your data is safe. It's actually got, spread around in copies other places where you don't lose anything. So that's the simplest I can make that. But I will say this, a lot of backup services have both a local component and an offsite cloud-based component. That's our preferred method for most scenarios. Definitely if you're backing up servers, like physical servers, we want to have a local copy that's on an appliance at your office, but we also want to have an offsite copy in the cloud. And that gives us the most options there with regards to business continuity and disaster recovery to get you back up and running. We can restore locally on that device. We can restore locally from that device. We can restore in the cloud, or we can restore from the cloud. So it gives us lots of options.
So if you typed into Google, what is the cloud, somehow landed on this video, there's your answer. It is not a specific fluffy white cloud floating around somewhere that everyone's Instagram pictures are inside of. So
exactly. Yeah, it's computers in another building. with more advanced technologies on it that give it there's a lot of cool stuff that actually goes into creating private clouds. It's not just a computer. There's a lot at the operation, like the operating system level and virtualization and things like that. But that's too much to go into on this video for sure.
Awesome, Travis. So a lot of great info. But again, practical things for businesses to do. If they're looking into backups, disaster recovery, what are some questions that a business can ask if they're looking for backup solutions?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is you need to, answer the question, where is my data? Like, where is it? Is your data saved on workstations? Is it saved on servers? Is it already in the cloud? Are your workstations set up to redirect their files and their folders to a file server at the office? So even though it seems like you're saving files locally, they're really not. They're going over to the server, or maybe they're redirected to like OneDrive, or you have a different cloud or Dropbox. Like, where is your data? That's the first thing you need to know. And is your data in a couple different places? Because then you might need a couple different types of backup to actually protect yourself. And then your disaster recovery and your business continuity are going to change because of that as well. And I want to point this out. People are going more and more serverless these days. We've got a lot of environments that we do serverless with Azure Active Directory and Microsoft's Intune product, and the data for those customers is predominantly being stored in SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams. So to back that up, we have to have a specific backup to do that. That is just backing up those environments. And it also works with the Google Suite as well. And that product that we're using is called Backupify. It's actually made by a company called Datto. And I want to say this as well. Datto is our preferred across the board for anybody who's looking for a good backup solution. They are our preferred vendor. We also use their appliances for our server backups. So we do the local backup on their appliance and then offset it to the cloud as well. So Datto is our preferred vendor. We also have worked with and do work with, to a limited extent, Acronis is another company we've done some work with. Infrascale is some stuff we've checked out. But for us, Datto has a solution it's called Backupify for Microsoft 365. And then they also have their various appliances that we can roll on site. And they have a couple other options outside of that, but for us, those are the two ones that we use the most. But anyhow, yeah, that's the first thing I would say is, where's the data? I'd say the second question you should ask is, what is my exposure? What is my risk here? Where do I work? Where's my business? Is fire a risk? Is theft a risk? Do we suffer prolonged power outages here? If that's the case, then how do I want to make sure my data is backed up as part of a disaster recovery plan, as part of a business continuity plan? So really just go through, what do you think could realistically, legitimately happen to your business, given your geography and the nature of your business? So definitely have that. But again, and I say this every time, these conversations are easier to be had and better to have if you have a partner to work with, or you have your own internal IT team. So make sure you're including the right parties in this conversation. If you're working with an MSP, have this conversation with your MSP. And if you've got your own internal team, have that team involved in this roundtable discussion. The other things that I think people need to consider, there's a third question people need to ask about their backups, which is the nature of my data. Is my data sensitive data? Am I a law firm, healthcare provider? Because that's also going to factor into the way you back up your data as well. Do you need to have encryption turned on for your backups? If you do, if you're doing like a cloud-based or appliance-based backups, you're going to need to have more space available for those backups, because when you turn on encryption, you can't use a feature called deduplication, or compression, which makes your backup smaller. So if you need to encrypt your backups, you're going to have to buy more space than a business that doesn't need to do that. Do you have intellectual property that you're worried about losing? If you do, what's the security look like around your backups? Do you have your backups segmented off on a VLAN, so a logical network that's separate from your main production network? Or even better, do you have it on a actual physically separate set of switches and infrastructure, using a different network card, et cetera, on all of your machines. Like, what does the security need to look like around your backups in your environment, given what kind of business you have? So there's a lot of different things that you need to look at and consider when choosing backups and implementing the right strategy in your environment. But again, I'd say that the top three is: where's my data? What are my risks? And what do I need to include from a compliance and security standpoint in my environment?
Great. So what I love about this is just giving practical steps for businesses to take to not just for IT, right, but to improve their business. So clear, practical questions that a business can sit down and analyze with their, first internally maybe, and then with whoever their partner is, their MSP or internal IT. But as the name of the podcast is, and as we do every week, we want to make IT simple. So if in 30 seconds, Travis, if you have 30 seconds to talk about backups, tell us what you want to tell us.
Where's your data? What kind of data do you have? Is it sensitive? Where is it? What are you using to back it up now? Something we didn't even get to go in. I'll try to fit this in. Are they good? Have you checked them? Have you done a backup restore? Are you practicing this stuff? So work with somebody to help you put together the right solution for your business. Backups are critical to your company. They're critical to your customers. Take them seriously.